Today, we're heading way back in time, to ancient Babylon actually, and what we're going to uncover is some financial wisdom that is, believe it or not, just as powerful today as it was thousands of years ago. We're kicking things off with a story called The Man Who Desired Gold. You know, right from the get-go, the book makes this really bold claim. This isn't just some dusty old idea. It's a principle that's totally timeless. The idea is that a country's strength, its prosperity, is directly tied to the financial health of its people. We're talking about each and every one of us, right down to what's actually in our wallets.
And that's really where our story begins. So picture this. We're in Babylon. This is the wealthiest city in the entire world at the time, a place just overflowing with gold. But for two really hardworking guys, all that prosperity might as well be on another planet. It's completely out of reach. And their whole frustration, their whole problem, boils down to this one simple, powerful question.
So to really get why they're struggling, you have to understand the city they live in. Let's call this our first section, Babylon's Great Paradox, because that's what it was, a place where incredible wealth was literally right next door to the most desperate poverty.
Yeah, the book actually calls it a mixture of grandeur and squalor. Just try to imagine it. You've got the king's palace, right? These massive towering walls, and they're casting a shadow over these tiny, simple mud brick homes below. It was a city where just dazzling wealth and the most crushing poverty were just crammed in together, side by side. And the streets, oh man, the streets were this chaotic scene of total inequality. You'd have the noisy chariots of the super rich pushing their way through crowds of everyday tradesmen. You'd see beggars who had absolutely nothing, being forced to move aside for these long lines of slaves who were carrying water up to the famous hanging gardens. This was the world our guys were living in every single day.
Okay, so right in the middle of all that chaos, we're going to zoom in on one guy. And that brings us to our second part, the dream of a heavy purse. This is where we meet our main character, a man whose whole journey starts, well, like it often does, with a dream.
So meet Bansir. This guy is a master craftsman. I mean, he's the best chariot builder in all of Babylon. But when we first see him, he's not working. He's just sitting there, staring at a chariot he hasn't finished. His lunch bag is pretty much empty, and he is just completely stuck on a problem he cannot figure out. So what's this big problem? Well, it's a dream that's just eating away at him. He dreamt that he was rich, that he had a purse so full of coins he could just toss a few to beggars, buy beautiful things for his wife, and just feel totally secure about the future. He actually calls it a glorious feeling of contentment.
And then, boom, crushing reality hits. He wakes up, and that amazing feeling is just gone. His purse is as empty as it was the day before. And that stark difference, right, between the dream and his real life, it sparked something inside him. The book calls it a feeling of rebellion.
And that feeling of rebellion leads him to ask the question, the one that drives this whole story. After his whole life of doing hard, honest work, why does he have absolutely nothing to show for it? Why is it such a constant struggle just to get by when he lives in a city that is practically swimming in gold?
But here's the thing. He's not the only one feeling this way. And that brings us to our next part. Two friends, one empty purse. Because pretty soon, his best friend shows up, and we realize, oh, this isn't just one guy's problem. This is a shared struggle.
So his buddy Kobbi, who's a really talented musician, comes along. He sees Bansir just sitting around, not working, and he naturally thinks, oh, Bansir must be doing well. He must have some money. So he asks for a tiny loan, just 2 shekels, which was their money back then, just enough to get him through to dinner that night.
And Bansir's reply, man, it's just devastating. He tells them that if he actually had 2 shekels, that would be his entire fortune, his whole net worth. And you just don't lend your entire fortune to anyone, not even your best friend. In that one sentence, you feel the real crushing weight of how poor he is.
And this just perfectly sums up their whole problem, right? You've got 2 guys here. Both of them are masters at what they do, respected for their skills. One's a great chariot builder, the other a great musician. And yet, after all these years of hard work, what's the result? The exact same thing for both of them, an empty purse.
It's right there, in that moment of shared misery, that all their frustration finally boils over and turns into this huge realization. A real light bulb moment. And that's our next section, the epiphany, because this new understanding is about to change everything for them. And here it is, the big insight. It's actually Kobbi who says it first.
He says, the reason we've never found any wealth is because we never actually sought it. Think about that. They just worked hard and kind of hoped for the best, hoped the gods would notice and reward them. They never made an active plan to go out and get wealthy.
So let's break that down, because it's super important. They set out to be the best chariot builder and the best musician. And you know what? They did it. They succeeded. But their goal was to be good at their craft. It wasn't to become financially prosperous. And now they're realizing, whoa, we need a totally new goal, and we need a whole new set of skills to get there.
And honestly, this is the single most important idea in this whole part of the story. They finally get it. Being good at your job is not the same thing as being good with money. All their skill as workers didn't just magically turn into wealth. That was a completely separate skill, and it was one they had never, ever learned.
Okay, so now they finally understand the real problem. And you know what? They don't just sit around feeling sorry for themselves. Nope. They decide to do something about it. And this brings us to our final section, the quest for answers. This is where they go from just being miserable to having a real concrete plan.
And their logic is so simple, it's brilliant. It's like, if you want to learn how to do something, what do? You go find someone who's already a master at it, and you ask them how they did it. So simple. They decide, okay, no more guessing, it's time to actually learn.
So who do they decide to go see? A guy named Arkad. And Arkad isn't just some rich guy. He is the richest man in all of Babylon. We're talking so rich that even the king goes to him for financial advice. So yeah, if anyone knows the secret to wealth, it's gotta be this guy.
And they realize that Arkad has the one thing they've been missing this whole time. It's not just a big bag of gold, it's an income. The book has this great phrase for it. It calls it a golden stream that keeps refilling your purse. See, they finally understand that real wealth isn't just a pile of money that you spend down. It's a system that keeps generating more money. It's the system they want, not just the lump sum.
And just like that, their quest begins. This moment, this decision, it marks their complete transformation. They're not just sitting around wishing they were rich anymore. Now they are actively going out to find the knowledge they need to build wealth for themselves.
So they've got their guy and they've got their mission. They know who has the answers, but of course the biggest question of all is still hanging there. What on earth could one man teach them that would completely change their lives? What secrets could Arkad possibly share that could turn two broke craftsmen into wealthy men? Well, that's where the real story and the real wisdom truly